Live from New York, it's the show that is 1 week away from the start of football season and 4 hours away from Equalizer 3. Oh, yeah, Robert McCall is back. This time he's in Italy. He runs into some trouble.
He's so
today.
excited.
Josh Allen's Super Bowl window. Wide open, closed, or slightly ajar. Meanwhile, prediction week continues. Will a behind-the-back pass be the play of the year we discuss? And finally, is there a chance Dak Prescott ends up atop the most motivational segment in all of sports?
My favorite moment.
It's the Bud List. Alongside Nick Wright, I'm Kevin Wildes. Brew, we know the Bud List has 3 candidates. Any chance there was someone on the bubble of the Bud List that didn't make it?
Several guys are on the bubble.
Anyone you want to mention?
I don't want to upset any of them because they were, Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers.
All right, there you go.
We start with the Bills Super Bowl window. Allen was asked about that window and basically said, thanks, but I'm not trying to hear that. Here he is with Adam Shine on Mad Dog. Take a listen.
How would you describe it? How would you respond to that when people say the window is closing or even closed for the Buffalo Bills and the Super Bowl?
Well, one thing I do know, it's hard to win in this league. It's hard to win consistently in this league. But the type of men that we have in this facility, in this locker room, it's a special group. So, I don't really hear all that outside noise. I know the type of guys that we have, the energy and the juice that we can bring, and how special this team can be.
Okay. Yeah. What, Wildes?
Is that just you?
Obviously not. Adam Shine's asking him about it.
But
Adam
you know
Shine
Adam
loves
Shine.
the Bills. Yeah, but it's not like he and I text. He and I are both WAR Hall of Famers. I used to work at Mad Dogs. No, I love Shine.
Just every morning, Super Bowl window is closed.
No, Shine does a great job, and listen, he's one of the many Josh Allen friends in the media. Kyle Brandt, Adam Shine. I think we're going to hear from Josh Allen on a different radio interview later this segment, doing a nice tour. Listen, obviously, for this iteration of the Bills, the window is closed. They hope it reopens at some point in the future. This is how Super Bowl windows work. They are not, in my lifetime as an adult watching football, there are only 3 quarterbacks ever who have had basically perma-open Super Bowl windows. Every year they were right there. Brady, Manning, Mahomes. That's it. What do you confuse?
Rodgers?
No, right.
I mean, he didn't go through the window, but the window's been open since he won a Super Bowl.
I would disagree with you, but Rodgers is maybe borderline. So if you want to say a fourth, with the Big Ben and the Steelers, they were consistently right there for the beginning of his career. Then from 2011 to 2015, they won 1 playoff game. Then it reopened. The hope is, by the way, that it reopens for Drew Brees and the Saints. They won a Super Bowl shortly after he got there. Then from 12 to 16, 5 years, they won 1 playoff game. For the Packers with Brett Favre, right when he got there the first 5 years, they made the divisional round every single year. They made 2 Super Bowls. Then from 98 to 2006, they had 2 total playoff wins, 0 conference championship game appearances. The Seattle, with your BFF Russell Wilson, the Seahawks, his first 3 years there, divisional round, Super Bowl win, Super Bowl appearance. The rest of his time there, 3 total playoff wins, 0 conference championship game appearances. The hope is that it reopens. But the idea that, if you have a great quarterback, it's open forever. No, Phillip Rivers is damn good. Phillip Rivers, right when he gets to the Chargers, 4 years, all 4 years in the divisional round. They win 13 games one year, 14 games another. They won 2 playoff games the rest of his career. Cam Newton, 3 straight divisional round appearances, a Super Bowl appearance, a 15-win season, a 12-win season. The rest of his career there, 0 playoff wins. So, yes, it is now closed, and you hope it reopens. I believe it will.
Why is it closed, though?
Because they took
the
their best
talent
shot
is
and
there.
missed. No, it's not, Brew. That's where we disagree.
They've had a top 5 defense for several of the last
Do you think they have
years.
a top 5 defense this year? We're talking about this year.
I think it's close. We'll see. I mean, missing Von Miller, obviously, for the first 4 games. If he comes back in game 5 or midway through the season, they'll be fine defensively.
Do they have a great defensive player other than Von Miller? I would argue no. I agree. It was open when they had a great defense.
I think it's still a good defense.
Good,
Very good defense. Better than the Chiefs.
Jordan Flores is good.
Right. It's better than the Chiefs' defense. And Josh Allen, I think, is a top 5 quarterback. Stephon Diggs is a top receiver. Probably not top 5, but arguably in there, if he has a great year. So I think I don't want to put words in your mouth,
sure,
but a lot of people think the window's closed because of bad vibes. That's what a lot of people think. Look at Stephon Diggs. He's unhappy. Look at how Sean McDermott handled the first press conference. And all of that's true. All right? And you guys know I am a believer in vibes. All right?
Not sports gods. That's too silly.
No, but vibes is real because vibes is interaction. Vibes is chemistry. Do guys get along? Mm-hmm. Now, here's the thing. If I had my druthers, I would rather you have good vibes than bad vibes.
Yeah, naturally.
But you know what? I would rather have bad vibes than no vibes. All right? Because bad vibes are emotion. And look, we have had plenty of teams. Sports history is littered with championship teams or contending teams that had bad vibes. All right, in fact, Buffalo, when they used to go to the Super Bowl, they went 4 straight years. There were some bad vibes. Yeah. Thurman Thomas criticizing Jim Kelly publicly, and you had assistant coaches getting in fights in the film room. Like, you had some bad vibes. Heck, how many articles and reports were there about Brady at V. Belichick, before they won their last Super Bowl?
We had vibes.
So my point is, the talent is there. The vibes are what they are, but there's also a good vibe.
Okay.
Oh my God.
There's a good vibe.
Sure.
Okay.
The good vibe is, God bless him, DeMar Hamlin. And I do wonder, Nick, I can't quantify it. Nobody can really know. Mm-hmm. But I do wonder if what happened to him late in that season, Game 16 against Cincinnati, if that really messed with the team, at least some of the players, because they had won 7 straight games to end the season. They did beat New England after that game. But the way they played in the playoffs, both games, even the win against Miami, they just looked bad. They looked off. And I wonder if that bothered some guys. And now Hamlin is back. That's got to be inspirational. So that's a good vibe for him.
I know, but he was back at that Patriots game and they torched us.
Specifically
on special teams.
And the first play,
you guys weren't that good.
But the first play post that was a kickoff return touchdown, one of the most special, memorable moments in NFL history. We have 2, I think, fundamental disagreements about the Bills. That is really, at this point, I think only one. The one last year is Josh Allen as good as the whole world thinks he is other than me? I obviously won that argument. The next question is this. I just did. Because last year,
what he finished in MVP?
Last year, the question was, is he the best quarterback in football?
No one really thought that.
Wilds. Hold on.
I didn't think he was better than Mahomes. I never thought.
Hold on a second.
There were others that thought. I'll give you that. There were others. Not
NFL
me,
100
but there were
list,
many.
There were Chris Collins on the broadcast. Tony Romo talking
He'll
about it.
He'll never let that go. What was it? Not his fault.
But hold on. We're not going to do revisionist history and act like the big story last year of the NFL when it came to the Bills was, at worst, they have the second best quarterback in football, and they might have the best. It now seems silly maybe, but it was Mahomes coming off his worst playoff moment, all of it. And Josh Allen got more credit for losing that playoff game than Mahomes did for winning it. All of that was the context. That one we now basically agree on. I think you have Josh as the fourth best quarterback, and I have him as the 5th best quarterback. Whatever. The next question is, how talented is the team? They have a below-average offensive line. They have a below-average running game. They have one receiver you trust. They were their
good tight ends.
Regular season, a good tight end, and then a rookie tight end that one day should be good. Their defensive coordinator either just stepped away or got deposed or whatever it is, despite the fact that they're a good regular season defense. They took their shot. They should have won the Super Bowl in 2021. They had the Chiefs beat, and I believe they would have beaten the Bengals, and I believe they would have beaten the Rams. The next year, the first game of the year, they crushed the Rams. They missed it. And now they have to revamp and retool. The hope for them is that they reopen the window because they have a very good quarterback.
I think it's still open.
It's open. It is so open.
Bit of a scuttlebutt about Josh and Stephon. We've run this video ad nauseum. But Josh remains optimistic, telling Pat McAfee, our communication's at an all-time high, just understanding some of our concepts better, making sure that we're talking, have an open line of communication. I love playing with the guy. We're going to continue to grow and get better, and I think this is going to be our best year yet. And here are the numbers from last year. Top 5 in both reception yards and touchdowns. So, Nick, are you buying best yet? Let me guess, no?
No, the best year for both these guys was their first year together. That was the 1 year Josh Allen was a legitimate MVP candidate. That was the best statistical year of his career. It was the best statistical year of Stephon's career. Stephon had 1,500 yards and 127 catches. Josh had 4,700 yards, 37 touchdowns, only 10 picks, a 107 rating. That was the best Bills team start to finish. The highest peak they've reached was the very end of the following season, and we're coming off the lowest low they've had together. So no, I don't think that we're about to see the best version, and I would argue that team, one of the reasons Diggs was as dynamic was when he first got there, other teams had to pay a little more attention to the number 2 in Emmanuel Sanders than they do right now, who Gabe Davis had the one monster playoff game against the Chiefs, and aside from that, has been a number 3 or 4 receiver throughout his career, at least the production of it. So no, I don't think we're going to see the best year yet from Diggs and Allen.
Oh, it's very possible. All right, it's on the board and then some. All right, because Stephon Diggs, past few years was being mentioned as what, like a top 5 receiver? Is that fair?
Sure, yeah.
Is he right now?
No.
I mean, he's not. So that's got to bother him. He's not old. He's still a great receiver, and he's got a great quarterback. And I think that quarterback, they're going to look to throw more. They don't want him running quite as much, especially the way he runs when he takes a lot of hits, a la Cam Newton, who, career was cut short because of it. So I think he's going to be looking to throw the ball more. Diggs has something to prove. He's got a chip on his shoulder. So I do think these two could have their best year yet.
Okay. They won, the Bills have won the AFC East 3 years in a row, but according to Robert Saleh.
Oh, this is so good.
This is our daily update.
What? Go ahead. You guys are so down on the Jets. It's unbelievable.
So we got to counterbalance the endless optimism emanating from Jet Life Field, as Aaron Rodgers put it.
Take a listen.
The good thing is, yes, we are in a really tough division, but they all got to play us too. So the mindset's always about us. It's about what we can bring, and it's about whether they can stack up with us. Sounds cocky, I get it, but you can't think of it any other way. We talk about owning the East, and you got to win your division games, and the easiest path to the playoffs is to win the division, right? But again, it's one game at a time.
No, it's not one game at a time.
Actually, it
you
is.
can't
What are you
just
talking about?
end your press conference. It's one game at a time. Talk about owning the East. Anyways, they open up against the Bills. That'll be a loss. Jets are in second.
As far as the odds, but
Dolphins, and then it's the mighty.
This is unbelievable. Robert Saleh, forget his 11-23 overall record. Robert Saleh has coached the Jets for 12 divisional games. They've won 2 of them. They've beaten Josh Allen in a great win last year and Skylar Thompson. That's it. The Jets have finished in last place in the AFC East every year Saleh's coached them, and 7 of the last 8 seasons. As far as owning the East, let's take a look at everyone who has ever owned the East and how many times they've done it.
Love it.
The Patriots 22, the Bills and Dolphins 13. The Baltimore/Indianapolis Colts, which are no longer in the AFC East, have won it 6 times. The Houston Oilers, which have not existed as a franchise in 20 years, have done it as many times as the Jets. The Jets have won the AFC East twice since the merger, 98 and 02. That is the facts on the ground. They are slightly less successful in the AFC East than the Baltimore Colts. And so the idea that we are going to talk about owning the division that we have been tenants in the cellar for the entirety of our existence is laughable. It's laughable.
That was a cute graphic.
It was.
All right, shout out Burt Jones of the Baltimore Colts, Lydell Mitchell,
you know what was on
Bump
that graphic?
Phillips and all
Facts.
That's right.
And you know what we're about to hear from Brew?
Vibes.
A whole bunch of feelings.
No, look.
A whole bunch of feelings.
Robert Saleh gave you an example of head coaching 101.
What?
All right. Of course, the ultimate goal is to get to the postseason and win the Super Bowl. But what do you have to do that?
Make the playoffs.
What's the best chance to do that? Win the division.
Not be the Jets.
Go talk to the head coach, Ryan Day at Ohio State, or Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. What are they going to say? We want to win the Big Ten.
True.
That's
They
what they're
are
going
not
to
a
say.
Michigan or Ohio
It is-
State. They're Rutgers. So
Hold on.
I don't know who
But
coaches
you know
Rutgers.
what?
Go ask him and talk about, is he talking about winning the Big
They're
Ten?
Rutgers.
Or is he talking about being bowl
They're
eligible?
Rutgers with Caleb Williams getting in the transfer portal and
Aaron
going
Rodgers
to
is
New Brunswick,
Caleb
New
Williams
Jersey.
now?
That's who they.
Is that who
he's
he is?
better than Caleb
No,
Williams. You know that.
Okay.
They got a Hall of Fame quarterback. They're supposed to be talking like these same old Jets. They got a Hall of Fame quarterback. They've got a top 5 defense that held at the end of the year. Who was it? Jacksonville and Detroit. And another top defense to 20 or fewer, top offense to 20 or fewer points.
They lost those games.
Because they didn't have any quarterback.
Okay.
Their best running back was hurt. They were 5-2 before Breece Hall got hurt.
Oh, my God,
They got
the
Garrett
Breece
Wilson,
Hall.
and you will continue to disrespect Garrett Wilson
I'm not-
at your own peril, Nick Wright. Look, the Jets, I don't even pick them to win the division. But all I'm saying is for the head coach to have a Hall of Fame quarterback and a talented roster, not to be saying anything but we want to win the East.
Did Tom Brady
would be wrong.
when Tom Brady went to the Bucs? That was perfect scenario, right? That's
Yeah.
exactly
Well,
what the Jets want to follow that path.
Yes.
Did Tom Brady and the Bucs start off like gangbusters out of the chute, 6-0?
No.
So
But
why
they
doesn't
didn't-
Robert Saleh say, all right, that was the path, and man, this was really difficult. It's one game at a time. That's all we're going to talk about. But all right, we're going to own the East. You got to think about the trophies. Oh, we're going to.
And you're taking own the East. They mean 1 year or while Rodgers is there.
Yeah.
They don't mean for the next 2 decades.
What
we're
does
not
own the
talking
East
about
It
a
means
dynasty.
while Aaron Rodgers
Yeah,
is
no,
there.
they're talking about winning the division
East.
this year.
Right.
We're going to own
winning
the
our
East.
division this
They
year.
talk more about success than the Chiefs do.
And here was the
Yes.
reason. Here was the reason that Tampa Bay didn't talk or didn't start well. You know that they didn't give Brady the keys to the offense, like the Jets have given Rodgers. You know that Brady. It's midway through the year. They started listening to Brady, and that's when they took off.
Go ahead.
I
sorry.
can't.
The Jets are listening.
Can I just say
I know
one other thing?
it's sad. It's tough to fathom or handle that they're going to be better than the
At
Patriots.
some point, if one team has beaten another team 15 times in a row,
that's Chiefs
but
Broncos.
Breece
Is
Hall,
Tom
we're like,
Brady
wow, they
there?
won 5 games with Breece Hall. We won 15 straight games.
Is Tom Brady walking through that door?
Hold on, the last 6. Tom
Julian
Brady-
Edelman, your
Hold on.
Mac
favorite
Jones were in the
receiver?
last 2.
The last 6 have not been Tom Brady. They have not been Tom Brady.
Have they been Aaron Rodgers?
No, they listen.
Okay,
And
Mike
all of a
White, Zach Wilson.
I get all of that. Sam Darnold, your guy, your beloved.
No.
Listen,
That's
the
Kyle
only.
Shanahan.
This is the last point I'll make. Because we didn't even get into the show today that Aaron Rodgers did the Jet Life Stadium thing, and they are courting all of the hype.
That's right.
And if they win, it will be as glorious of a bleep you to everyone, and they will get to say, to anyone that doubted them, you idiots. We had the worst quarterback situation in the league. We brought in one of the best quarterbacks ever, and you doubted us. We called our shot, and we got it. But if they don't, and if they fall as short as I think they're going to fall, they are going to have to own the fact they courted these expectations in a way that the Rams didn't when they brought in Stafford, the Broncos didn't when they brought in Russ, the Bucs didn't even immediately when they brought in Brady. I think that's a mistake for the worst franchise in the NFL.
Okay,
with respect to the
they've
Browns,
courted it to a degree, but would you admit, both of you, that a lot of this is one, they're in New York City. You can't avoid it. It's going to be blasted and magnified.
Part of it.
And 2, they were put on Hard Knocks. They didn't want to go on Hard Knocks. They were put on there, and their
like
confidence is
the
showing.
Giants thing. This new clip of Aaron Rodgers saying, "Don't poke the bear." That's
You don't
hard
think
not-
he's talked like that his whole career?
I know, but now that after the bye, that Giants Jets will be circled. The Broncos game is circled. The Cowboys game's obviously circled. The Patriots game is circled. Monday Night Football opening night is circled. Yeah. They got a lot of people saying, you know what? We have to beat the Jets. And good news. You will. Coming up, Prediction Week continues next on FS1 and the Fox Sports Channel on SiriusXM. Oh, more behind the back passes.
Hey, college football fans, Joel Klatt here. We are bringing you the best college football analysis every week. Any questions? Then send them into the Joel Klatt Show mailbag. Follow the Joel Klatt Show on the Fox Sports app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Oh, welcome back to a very recognizable show. It's Predictions Week, Day 4. These predictions, mind you, are set in stone, and we will be staked to them for the rest of the year. We turn our attention to superlatives. We've got a lot to get to. We start with Super Bowl contender, most likely to miss the playoffs. Here are the betting faves. Stand by, betting faves. Kansas City Chiefs, our Chiefs, come on. Then the Eagles, Bills, Bengals, 49ers, Cowboys, Jets, and Ravens. So, Nick, Super Bowl contender, most likely to miss the playoffs is who?
So, I believe the Jets are going to miss the playoffs, but I also don't believe they're a Super Bowl contender. So even though they are on the odds, I am not going to include them in this. My answer is a team that I like and that I'm a big fan of their coach and their front office and their quarterback personally. But I don't think this year is going to go well for them. The Baltimore Ravens.
Ooh, bro.
We keep hearing that, this is the best receiving core the Ravens have had since Lamar is there, which is kind of like being like, that's the most money I had in my bank account my freshman year of college. Doesn't mean it's a lot. Just mean it's the most I'd had. Maybe it's good.
Fired at OBJ.
No, so OBJ, a year removed from another injury. Zay Flowers, who I understand was awesome in college but is a rookie, so we have to see it. And then Bateman, who we are yet to see show the promise. Right, but a lot of ifs there. Mm-hmm. Also, aside from Roquan Smith, I think this is maybe one of the weaker Ravens defenses of the last few years, which again, the Ravens defenses, that's a high standard already. We know the old offensive philosophy worked. We don't know that this one will. And they're in a brutal division. I could see it going horribly for them.
Okay.
I've got the Ravens definitely in the playoffs. And I'm like you, Nick. I did not consider the Jets, even though I think they'll make the playoffs.
Yep.
I didn't consider them as a top contender. Right. So I would have gone with them had I, of those 8 teams. I went with the Bills.
This guy!
No,
this guy!
Seriously.
We just went to war about the Bills Super Bowl window. And now look at this.
Two
this
things
guy.
can be true.
Look at this guy.
What are they?
2 things can be true.
That
One,
windows wide
that
open
they are a
playoffs.
Super Bowl contender. And 2, of Cincinnati, Baltimore, and Kansas City, I think those 3 teams have a better chance of making the playoffs
Well, it wasn't
than
just the
Buffalo.
AFC.
So 2 things.
There's the NFC too.
The window. There's only 3 in the NFC: Dallas, San Francisco, and Philly, and none of them are missing the playoffs. Dallas is missing the playoffs? Even a chance they miss the playoffs?
Yeah, there's a chance that the guy who led the league in interceptions misses the playoffs.
They're not missing the playoffs. So Buffalo, I like the Bills. I got them winning the division.
You got them in Super Bowl window wide open and missing the playoffs.
I didn't want to extend the list of contenders halfway through the league, so I went with the Bills. Okay. I'm objective.
Yeah, I know
I'm
that.
Mr. Objective.
Mr. Objective.
I am Mr. Objective. You got to produce. If you want love from me, you got to produce.
It is so dangerous to be liked on this team. You like the Bills, but they're out.
Yeah,
you like the Ravens, but they're out.
Yeah.
You're wrong about the Jets. I think you're right about the Ravens. I'm going to go with a different team. I'm going to go with the Dolphins. And I think it all hinges on Tua. And to me, if Tua can stay healthy, then things are going to – they've got a chance, and I like where they are and a lot of the things they've done. I just don't believe that he's going to be able to stay healthy, even though he didn't get sacked that much and he's worked on, taking hits. You just can't predict it. And when you've had that many concussions, the odds are you're probably going to get
I would have again gone with Miami. That's a team. You probably would have.
No,
I consider them a contender.
I have Miami winning the division.
Okay, so I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I can.
He just hates the Jets.
Next category, most likely to break a record this season, Mahomes got most total yards, passing and running. Here's some, Peyton's record still out there. Eric Dickerson. Josh Jacobs
Shout out
getting
Eric
close.
Dickerson for that record still
Getting
standing.
it done. Shout out to the neck guard, too.
Arguably the greatest.
And then Calvin Johnson, of course. So, Nick, who do you have most likely to break a record?
Consecutive wins by a team, playoffs and regular season combined. It is 21. Coach Eric Mangini was a part of it. The last time the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl, they ended that season on a 6-game winning streak. They then won the Super Bowl. They had a stretch of 25 games where they went 24-1. The one loss was to the Raiders. The Raiders then did laps around the stadium, and the team has still not recovered from that, spitting in the face of the football gods. We'll see if they ever do. The Chiefs this year, they beat Buffalo. They tie New England's record at 21 in a row. That would be to get to 13-0. The very next week, on national television, Coach,
Love it.
they go to Foxborough. Don't think the NFL, when the NFL, you think this is a coincidence, or you think the NFL knew the Chiefs might start out 13-0? Let's have the record breaker be
It's
at
a battle
New
for the
England.
head of the AFC East.
They are, by the way, this is, Nick, you're a homer. Well, are the old men in the desert homers? Because the Chiefs are favored in every single game they play leading up to that New England game where they are also favored. So they break the record. That's the most likely record to fall.
No chance.
No chance?
And you know I like the Chiefs. No,
He loves everybody. He likes everybody but me.
No, the Chiefs.
Yeah, no chance.
I'm the
Mr. Objective?
Who's the record on the record guy that said Patrick Mahomes the best ever?
You are.
Hey, it's not Nick. It's me.
Duress.
All right, that's right. All right, so I've got Justin Fields. My record was not up there on that graphic, but here's another graphic for you. Justin Fields, most yards rushed for by a quarterback in a single season.
Oh.
He was only 43 yards short, or was it, what is that?
63.
63 yards
I got you,
short
bro.
last year, and he only played 15 games. So I think he's going to be running again this year. I know they've improved a little bit, but he's still going to have to get out and use his legs. Still might be a better runner than passer at this point in his career. So I think Justin's going to be running
That's a good one.
wild. So I think he's going to break the record.
So Nick is right. Kansas City is going to break a record this season. It just won't be that record. It's going to be the scoring record. And so Peyton Manning in 2013, that offense had 606 points. And I think the Chiefs are going to have to surpass that just based off of the information that Nick gave us yesterday, where defense really isn't important. Chris Jones really isn't important. They've got a
did not say
defensive
that about
line that
Chris
is combined for 1 sack per 7 games, so that's going to be an issue. And they faced 9 teams that are fairly prolific offensively, so they're probably going to have to score about 40 points a game, at least till they get Chris Jones back, which puts them in line to break the scoring record.
So you have the Chiefs being the highest scoring offense in NFL history?
Highest scoring offense in NFL
And
history.
you think I'm going to be upset about this? I'm good with that. Good job. Good job, Coach. We got to move on. I agree. This is a great take.
They will not beat the New England Patriots record.
This is a great take. It was a great take till the end.
Next up, a little bit of a curveball because these are the Coach of the Year faves. Caffeinated Dan Campbell in at number 1. What a ride this has been.
Sean Payton is number 2?
Yeah.
Wow.
Making the playoffs. Come on.
Doug
Solid low.
The team most likely, so here's the curveball. We're going to do the opposite. Who's most likely to make a mid-season coaching change?
Oh, that one's easy. The New York Jets. It's on the board that they could go into the first annual Nat Hackett Bowl, Jets-Broncos 0-4. And if that happens, all that's going to take there is for the Patriots to beat them for the 15th straight time, because they're going to lose to Buffalo, they're going to lose to the Cowboys, and they're going to lose to the Chiefs. If that happens, the seat will be not hot, but scorching immediately. Later in the year, they have a Monday, Black Friday stretch of at Buffalo and Miami. They lose 2 games in 5 days. The last one, a standalone game on Black Friday on national TV. Then have a little extra time before their next game. A coaching change could be made there. They could be like 4-7 if things really go poorly for them. So I think Robert Saleh is the answer.
That's not a bad one. If it does go south for the Jets. I got Josh McDaniels, which might be obvious. It's already happened to him once in Denver when he started 3-9. They've got to win their first game. Because they open with Denver.
Must win week 1?
Well, because here's the thing. Hold on.
I love it.
No.
I love it.
But here's the thing. They follow up with Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and the Chargers.
Yeah.
So if they don't win the first game, there's a decent chance they start
Must win week
0-4.
one. I like
And then that's when it could
well, if that happened, yeah,
real
the
trouble
solid
for
no,
Josh
that would
if
be
they
a
don't win
very
their
early
first game.
coach firing. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll happen after week 4, but I'm saying it'll set the tone for a bad season.
Look, I don't think you're right, Nick, because the Jets aren't going to start 0-4. But if they did, yeah, that would be problematic for him. And I think Josh is probably protected by his contract. I don't think that the Las Vegas Raiders have that kind of cash flow to really move on from that many coaches. Yeah, that many coaches. And I don't love this topic. Just for the record, and I think Ron Rivera is a very good coach. I think he's in an extremely difficult situation. When a new owner comes in, they pay $6 billion for a team, and they want to change everything about it. One thing they're going to want to change is the coaching staff. And so if they don't have success, and look, he's hasn't had a winning record since he's been there. They went 500 last year. But that could be a real issue, and this guy is tough. The new owner is tough and is going to have very high expectations.
That's fair.
Yeah. Also, Kevin Durant on both teams, like Will Money Williams. Kevin Durant loves the Commanders. All right, so we saved the best for last. He's practiced this for 3 years now and has promised us personally that he will eventually break this out. We're talking about the behind-the-back pass, obviously. Brew, who's most likely to make the play of the year?
Well, Mahomes is certainly up there, obviously, but I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson.
Oh.
And I think it'll be with his legs. We talked yesterday, Coach, about if they throw the ball successfully outside the numbers, I don't think it would be a planned run. But a scramble where, they got to pay attention to those receivers downfield. Lamar could do something
like Vic against the Vikings,
electrifying.
the
Something,
famous where
I
guys
can see
run into each
something coming from him. So I got Lamar.
I'm going with Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields is a much younger version, still willing to run a lot. They're willing to use him as a runner. He broke Michael Vick's record with 178 yards against the Dolphins, and it was close to Kaepernick's. And there's going to be a lot of those plays again this season with more weapons across the field. So it could be him scrambling around, Madden style, and then making some unbelievable throw down the field.
All right, those are both great answers. But to me, those are things we have seen to a degree. Something we haven't seen really, but we've gotten teasers of, is are the Chiefs going to run a lateral offense? Kelce did this 5 years ago, and people thought it was crazy. That was in the AFC title game and a designed play. Are the Chiefs going to all of a sudden start to have laterals worked into the offense so you really have to defend all 53 yards?
No.
I want to believe that, but I don't think they have to do that in order to be great. So because of that, I am instead going to go with the person who had the play of the year last year, back-to-back, Chandler Jones. Bam! Bingo! Chandler Jones, 2-time defending play of the year. There it is.
That is a great play.
That's why people are tuning in. Laugh their heads off.
You didn't see that one coming. It's been a long time. There's a big setup just to get there. Did a whole lateral video just to get your guard down.
Everyone knows that when you want every score, the best highlights, and the biggest stories from the sports world, you go to foxsports.com. But did you know all of your favorites from Fox Sports can come to you? Announcing your Fox Sports Daily. Fox Sports' all-new, customized daily newsletter, delivering the top sports news and videos you care about every day. All you need to do is sign up on foxsports.com or on the Fox Sports app. And then just follow your favorite teams, athletes, and leagues to get only the news you want. The more favorites you add, the more personalized your Fox Sports Daily will be. So sign up today on foxsports.com or on the Fox Sports app and stay updated on the sports stories that matter to you.
Jonathan Taylor is still on the Colts, but you won't see him for at least 4 weeks. Was a report that the Packers made an offer. I like that, but it was a no-go. Here's Colts GM Chris Ballard.
And what sucks, I mean, the situation, I'm not going to sit here and give you some rosy picture like, oh, this is just, everything's okay. No, it sucks. It sucks for the Colts. It sucks for Jonathan Taylor. And it sucks for our fans. It does. And it's where we're at, and we've got to work through it. And we're going to do everything we can to work through it. Relationships are repairable. They're repairable.
What? What are you doing? Come on, man. Come on.
Well, he must not be pulling the strings.
I guess not.
Or
you
he's
want to
trying
go
to
first
save
here,
face.
bro? How do you see this playing out?
I don't really think Jonathan Taylor has much of a choice but to play. I mean, if he's hurt the entire season, then his contract just tolls. And next year, he's not a free agent in the summer. So I think if he comes back after he's off, assuming he's healthy, he has to go out and say, let me have the best year I can. Now, there's a risk because he might not play well because the team's not going to be very good. So that's risky. But if he goes out there and plays well, he gets his $4 million this year. And even if Indy franchises him, that might be the most money he gets on the market. If he doesn't play, he won't prove to teams that he's back from the ankle injury. And so I think on the open market next year, if he didn't play, what's he going to get? A 1-year, $7 million deal or something like that? So he's in a tough position, but hopefully he can go out and play well enough where he can get either a long-term deal or even a franchise tag. And I agree with Ballard. Relationships are restorable. And LeBron, look, this is what I say to Jonathan Taylor. Put business before personal stuff. Remember LeBron went back to Cleveland? I mean, the things Dan Gilbert, the owner, said about him were far worse than what Jim Irsay said. And LeBron said, you know what? Business, never personal. And it was the greatest championship of his career. So that's what I would say to Taylor. Put that stuff aside and do what's best for your bottom line.
Yeah, this is hard to see it playing out in a positive way unless the owner is willing to change his philosophy. Because remember, he talked about potentially putting him on the non-football injury list, which would have meant he wouldn't have gotten paid. And now this is pushed off to where he's not playing for 4 games, and a player could come back and he could have a back strain. There's a lot of things that can prevent you from playing week to week, but still allow you to get paid. I don't know if he's going to go that route, but the whole situation is difficult. You've got Anthony Richardson there, who is a boom or bust player, but he has the best chance of being a boom player with a really good running game. And that combination of 2 young, explosive players could be great for the organization, but they're not allowing that part to happen. And with Chris Ballard, it sucks, but you're the GM, and everybody's expecting you to make some type of decision or find some sort of solution.
Correct, but it does seem like the real conflict is not between Ballard and Taylor. It's between Irsay and Taylor. And that's a tough one because you have Jonathan Taylor, who worked his entire life, was amazing in college, great player, could have won the Heisman, great player for the Colts. Remember him, he bought the whole team Rolexes when he run the rushing records, done everything right, and worked really hard to get here. And Jim Irsay, who worked really hard to inherit this team from his dad. And so it's just like, I don't know which side I'm going to fall on that. But there's nothing Chris Ballard can do. And I do believe this. Irsay is standing on principle in the worst spot possible. You have finally made a decision that might allow you to turn the page from a stomach punch of Andrew Luck retiring and Anthony Richardson, that draft pick. I don't know if he's going to be great or not, but I know the upside is there. One of the reasons Andrew Luck retired was because his whole career didn't have a reliable offensive line or running game, and he got beat up, pardon me. And you don't want that to happen to Anthony Richardson. So if there was ever a time to maybe overpay a bit, even in a market where running backs aren't getting paid, it's when you have a raw, in his prime running back. And instead you're going to throw Anthony Richardson out to the Wolves. And so I thought the Colts could have been in a pretty decent position. And now this seems to be throwing it off. And I don't think the GM wants to do it. I think the owner, like you've said, you can't do, if the owner wants it, you just got to take the bullets for him and go with it. I think it's a brutal spot for the fans of that team.
But it's not even just about overpaying. It's also about alienating. You've gone from the extreme of, you don't want to pay him, but now you're also going to publicly put him in a position where he's got to bow up to some degree because you've made this a community issue as opposed to just a Colts issue.
James Harden time. Yeah. That's not the tease. You show up. Oh, wow, 220 yards. You know what? I'm done. I'm out. I'm out. Prediction week continues. Offensive player of the year next.
Harper hits one in the air. Left back it goes. Harper, the swing of his life.
MLB
MLB playoffs are near, and you know what that means, Alex?
Yep, Flippin' Bats will be staying up late and having all the fun.
From breaking down the most important stories in games, nobody's done what he's doing. Nobody, not even Babe Ruth.
To interviewing baseball's biggest stars.
I felt like I was pitching more stressed. I was trying to be so perfect.
No one covers America's pastime like us.
So as we sprint towards this year's World Series on Fox, please make sure to listen, follow, and subscribe to Flippin' Bats with Ben Verlander and me, Alex Curry.
Baseball is fun, and so are we. We're going to have fun, dang it! We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for joining us. Tune in tomorrow, the conclusion of Predictions Week, and we go for the big ones. Super Bowl and MVP. I cannot wait. And guess what? We're going to debut a lot of playoff stuff. It's going to be fantastic.
Wild's full playoff bracket gets reviewed.
You know what? Everyone's been clamoring for it.
Yes, they have.
Clamoring.
I haven't been able to sleep.
Several people haven't. 5 active players have won Offensive Player of the Year: Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Derrick Henry, Michael Thomas, and friend of the show, Patrick Mahomes. Here's the odds this year: Jamar Chase in the lead, followed by Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, et cetera, et cetera. Justin Fields, always on everything nowadays, and Tyreek. Nick, who do you got?
First of all, shout out to Wiles. While he was doing that read, I accidentally started playing footsie with him. You couldn't even tell. My apologies. Good job, buddy. It's just a true pro's
very
pro.
close set.
I was stretching my legs out onto the desk. I was like, what is moving down there? It was Wild's feet. Sorry about that, buddy. All right, Coach, I've worked with you now for 6 years. No, longer than that, because before the show even existed, you and I did a few podcasts together, 7 years. And you have taught me.
Going on and on. Like kicking my feet. You're gonna,
sorry.
Remember that one day we had dinner?
You've taught me to not be too early on guys, to trust the established guys, and to not anoint people too early.
Caleb Williams.
And I've wanted to listen to you.
I know you did. Not really, but
Right.
But
You've gone the opposite.
But Bijan Robinson is going to follow in the footsteps of Edgerrin James, whose rookie year had 1,500 rushing and 500 receiving. Or Clinton Portis, who had 1,500 rushing and 400 receiving. Marshall Faulk, who had 1,200, 500. Saquon, just a few years ago, who had 1,300, 700. He is going to be the engine that drives the Atlanta Falcons to the playoffs. He is going to be far and away the best running back in football. I believe he is going to have, to be clear, 2,000 yards from scrimmage, not 2,000 yards rushing, but 2,000 yards rushing and receiving. And I think that will be enough to win Offensive Player of the Year. I am picking a rookie to win Offensive Player of the Year.
I have a quick question there.
Yeah.
Remember when we had all the hype about Kyle Pitts in Atlanta, and we were going crazy for Kyle Pitts?
Yeah.
And then halfway through the season, like, is Kyle Pitts playing? What's going on?
Yeah.
Do you trust Atlanta to utilize their offense?
Yes, because one of the reasons Kyle Pitts wasn't as potent was because they didn't want to throw the ball as much as we thought they would. That's fine now. They're just going to hand the ball to Bijan Robinson and throw it to him out of the backfield. I like Bijan Robinson for this.
I think he'll have a great year. I think Earl Campbell, was he the last rookie? Did any of those guys win Offensive Player?
Not one Offensive Player.
I think Earl Campbell was the last rookie to win Offensive Player of the Year. That was 1978, so that would be something. I got Christian McCaffrey. I think he's going to go 1,000 rushing, 1,000 passing or receiving. Last year almost did it. He came within 300 yards, and that was with Baker Mayfield at quarterback for 6 games. All right, so imagine him with Brock Purdy for an entire
Didn't he
season.
have Brock Purdy for 6 games as well last year?
No, but those were the 6 he came close to getting the mark.
Got it.
He's got a lot of weapons, which some might say could work against him, but I think it'll open things up for him more. I see a lot of short passes that he turns into big gains, so I got Christian McCaffrey. He's got to stay healthy, obviously.
I like your Christian McCaffrey pick. I don't know if I like it because it's Brock Purdy versus Baker Mayfield, but and I do worry about his injury. I really like Bijan Robinson as well. It's just hard to get that distinction that early. But I do like Atlanta and then the way they run the ball. But I'm going to go back to Kansas City, and I'm going with Patrick Mahomes as my Offensive Player of the Year.
Because he's going. If he's MVP, he did win it before.
I didn't say he's going to be MVP. It says he's going to be Offensive Player of the Year, and I know in recent history the Offensive Player of the Year hasn't been a quarterback. Right. But prior to that, 4 out of 5 Offensive Player of the Years were quarterback, including Patrick Mahomes. 2018.
Yeah.
So with the amount that he's going to have to score this season to overcome the defense, with the young receivers and really only Marquez Valdez-Scantling as an established guy, he's going to have to be what he was in 2018, and I think he has a chance to be. Now I don't know what that'll translate into in terms of total wins, but he's going to have to be special.
The storyline is
Coach, everybody's trying to become a Mahomes guy these days.
No.
You're trying to become a Mahomes guy. Bruce trying to become a Mahomes guy.
I'm saying it's by necessity.
Well, that's, you know what?
I'm saying this is necessity. They're going to have to
necessity is the mother of invention.
Yes,
Isn't that something people say?
Yeah, that's not.
What? It's talking something people say.
So is he MVP too or no?
That's tomorrow's show.
Well, you know what it seems when it has become like the award, the
Second
offensive player that's not a quarterback.
Yeah.
But when quarterbacks were getting it, sometimes you had running backs winning MVP sometimes.
Yeah, and sometimes it's double dipped. Coach's point was Mahomes double dipped.
At all.
Okay.
I'm just saying he's going to be.
It'll be second.
What he's going to say tomorrow is that their team's record isn't going to be good enough for him to win MVP, so it's got to go to someone else. But Mahomes can get all the scoring.
Great
record.
tease.
That's fine.
I love the way that Nick has established what I'm going to say tomorrow.
I'm into your brain.
Coming up in 4 minutes, the most motivational segment in all sports. It's the Bud List.
Watch your feet.
I know, sorry.
Hey, college football fans, this is RJ Young, host of Fox Sports' #1 college football show. The biggest names, the biggest games. The theme is we do it big on this here thing. Please subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
We're in the middle of predictions week, and we are now starting the most motivational segment in all of sports. It's the Bud List. Also time where we read some viewer mail. We just get bundles and bundles of mail for the year 2023. I got a special letter here. I'll read it once I get my letter writing music reading.
You do that every week.
I don't write
You
the
don't
letters.
write the letters.
No.
Why would it be letter writing music?
I have no idea.
You don't know what these people are listening to when they're writing the letters.
They're just unstamped envelopes.
This is a long one.
Dear Wilds, love the show. The start of a new school year is upon us. Brew, do you have any suggestions for a sensible wardrobe for the first day of school? Sincerely, Don. I don't know if you have any sensible wardrobe suggestions.
I wore a nice little school outfit today.
Oh,
a little polo shirt, jeans.
He did.
And
dungarees. Do we not have a
top
picture?
side deck shoes.
We had a big boss in town. Bruce usually comes to work in hooping shorts and a King t-shirt. Today, he looked like he was auditioning to be first mate at Wild's Yacht Club. Unbelievable.
I dress appropriately.
What was the occasion?
Our boss was here. Our boss was here.
Sorry. I don't know how Dawn knew that.
You should have had a picture.
I know.
They must have seen me. They live down the street.
Yeah, that's right.
They must have seen me walking up. All right, here we go. This is very motivational this week, too. At number 3, Jared Goff. Ooh. Now, look, I get it. He's not Aaron Rodgers. But, Coach, you might agree with me. I mean, this is a guy that I think is very disrespected as a quarterback. You never, despite his Super Bowl appearance, 3 Pro Bowls. Remember in LA, he one of the most historic offenses in recent memory when they did get to the Super Bowl that year. Last year, he had a great year, and you never see him even like in the discussion really for any of these top 10 lists. So I believe that Jared Goff, and he finished last year 324 straight passes, no interceptions. So he's actually got a shot at maybe chasing Aaron Rodgers' record down. But anyway, there are expectations now on the Lions. So everything he did last year, no expectations, no one thought the Lions could do anything. Now there are people expecting them to make the playoffs for what, or win the division first time since 1993, get only their second playoff win since 1957. Think about that. And Jared, if you do it, I believe you will start getting the respect that a lot would say you deserve. If you don't, people will say, see, I told you, he's not built of the right stuff. He's just a so-so quarterback. All right, at number 2, Deshaun Watson. And now, look, a few years ago, the world was Deshaun's oyster. All right, he was a great quarterback. Looked like he might even be headed toward a Hall of Fame career. And because of his own horrible decisions, no question about that, Now he is an afterthought. And he has to come out this year. It did work out for him financially, even though all the bad decisions he made. Financially, he got the best contract in NFL history somehow. 5 years, $230 million, fully guaranteed. But with that contract comes expectations. And we gave you a pass last year. 6 games, you hadn't played in a year and a half. We get it. You weren't supposed to look good. But now you are expected to. And people want you to lead the Browns to their second playoff appearance in the last 20 years.
Who led them to the first, bro?
I can't remember. Somebody like that? Baker Mayfield. But anyway, it would only be their 4th playoff appearance since I graduated from college in nearby Oberlin, Ohio, which really wasn't that long ago. Maybe I shouldn't have used that one. But anyway, Deshaun, go ahead and I believe you still got some good years in you. You're only 28 years old. You got to go ahead and have a great year. It's a tough division. There's no doubt it's a tough conference. But if you're the guy you were a few years ago, then you can resurrect your career. All right, at number 1, Dak Prescott, right? I mean, it's obvious. All week long, people have been talking about Trey Lance, even Nick saying, you gotta give him a package.
Yeah.
Gotta give him a package. Everybody thinks Trey Lance is gonna take Dak Prescott's spot. I think that's kind of crazy, but Dak is under pressure because the conference is weaker than it's been in a long time. The other top quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, absolutely legit. Brock Purdy was great last year, but come on, he's Mr. Irrelevant a year ago. Dak, if you're who you're supposed to be, you should at least get this team to that NFC title game that they haven't been to in nearly 30 years. You should even have a shot at getting them to the Super Bowl. If you don't, because of the noise about Trey Lance, because you want this big contract, I don't think your time would be up in Dallas, but the pressure would really be on you. So Dak Prescott has to go out and have a great year, lead them at least to the Final Four. I think he can do it, but he's got to go out and prove it.
No,
Tepid belief.
Yeah, this is more indictment than an inspiration. This
really?
But what I will say, though, is this list is definitely closer to the regular season list. It's more refined. It's more nuanced. You took some shots at Nick, and you did a really nice imitation. So we've gotten through the preseason list, and this is pretty close to the regular season list. I'm going to add some, though, one of your favorites, which is Jimmy Garoppolo. And here's why. And we talk about quarterback wins, and I know that's a big step to you. Yeah. But Jimmy goes on a podcast or an interview, and he talks about the importance of a fresh start, where you've got a fresh start. And then for some reason, he's going to take a shot at the 49ers, and you don't really need to do that. So now you put the onus back on you to show that you would have been the right decision if they had kept you. So you're bringing yourself back into a conversation that you weren't really part of. Now, the other thing, the third thing is Brew talks about the head coaching situation, and this is a relationship that you've had with Josh McDaniels. You've been in his system. You understand how the system works. You should be very effective in it. And Brew wants to get Josh fired. So you have a chance to save Josh's job after Josh believed in you as strongly as he did. So it's on the list.
Yeah.
Jimmy always has a built-in excuse, though.
You're the excuse maker for him.
Injuries.
Okay, but
fragile bones. I mean, really, like he might. We all think, you know what? He probably got about 7 games in him.
Fragile bones.
What are you saying? He needs to drink more milk?
Something. All right. It was awry.
Before I show you mine, do you guys remember last year? I even brought it up today. I kept hammering the point that Josh Allen got more credit for losing a game than Mahomes got for beating him.
Yeah, we didn't believe that. We just kind of let it go.
Okay, but it was true. Something similar has happened, at least on this show, with that Chargers-Jags playoff game, and I am putting Justin Herbert on the list, which is, I have heard more criticism for Trevor Lawrence's play in that game, for coming back from down 27-0, than for Justin Herbert, who blew the 4th largest lead in NFL playoff history. Justin Herbert now has the largest contract in NFL history. He already had 2 very good wide receivers. They spent their first-round pick on another one. Last year, they spent in the offseason a ton of money on their defense. Those guys are all back healthy. He got a brand new offensive coordinator. So people that were blaming Staley's head coach and offense for hurting him, Kellen Moore was an offensive coordinator. See Dak Prescott throw for nearly 5,000 yards, throw for nearly 40 touchdowns. He has the money. He has the experience. He has the weapons. He has the offensive system. What he doesn't have is a postseason victory.
True.
What he doesn't have is consecutive playoff appearances. What he doesn't have is really any of the pelts on the wall to go along with what everybody says about him, which is one of the best quarterbacks in football. I do believe Justin Herbert's excellent. You guys know for 2 straight years I've said the Chargers are the team that scare me as a Chiefs fan more than anyone because of the familiarity and because those games are always close. But at some point, you've got to produce on a high level late into January. We're yet to see that. Justin Herbert, there's no more excuses for him at this point, so I'm putting him on the bus.
That's a good one. Very true about Justin Herbert. I mean, everybody seems to have him in the top 5 as far as quarterbacks, but he's got to have more postseason success. Got great weapons, so yeah, that's a good one.
All right, finally, Brew, I'm going to take a little dip into the NBA, and shout out to Mark Spears, who gave us the best Ben Simmons interview maybe I've ever read in my life or in Ben Simmons' career. Ben Simmons basically outlined how bad his back was and gave us several awesome quotes that I will read to you now. 1, this is the best I've felt in like 2 years. That's good news, Ben. For me to come back and dominate people will be great. Fantastic. Hey, remember I was always like, hey, man, you should play in the Olympics. It turns out his back hurt, but now the Olympics are coming up. He's not currently playing with Josh Giddey. Yeah, for sure. Olympics? Yeah, 100%. That's what I want to do next year. So he's in on the Olympics. What's he working on, you might ask? Touch shooting, pull-ups, spot-up threes, just everything. When I'm allowed to be who I am and move how I need to move, I will be in a good place. The sky is the limit. Ben Simmons, my friend, I believe in you after this. Now, there was one little part of this article, bro. Say, hey, what are you doing? 5-on-5 scrimmage? He's like, well, right now, 2-on-2. What? What was that? Just 2-on-2? You're talking about how strong his score is? It's just 2-on-2. But I'm putting Ben Simmons on the bud list because these quotes are so over the top. They're almost Robert Saleh-esque that he needs to deliver. But Ben Simmons, I do believe in you.
That's a good one, Wiles.
It's a great article.
The 2-on-2 scares you.
It kind of just was like stuck in there. I was like, hey, man, we're like threes maybe?
I would love nothing more than for Ben Simmons to reach his potential. That would be great. I thought the dude was going to be awesome. Even in his best years in Philly, I didn't think he was reaching his potential. He still wouldn't take jump shots. So hopefully all of that's
out
true.
Here, man. He's playing 2s, just a 21, but still. He is out here with his shirt off, working out.
Looking good.
Yeah. Prediction week continues. Which team will shock the NFL? Oh, maybe the New England Patriots? We are just okay. What is with the oil painting is too much?
That oil painting is of him, but it was painted 600 years ago. It's amazing the things the Prince can do.
Silly.
Really is
supposed
special.
to be a serious show.
Yeah.
Prediction week. Last year, the Jacksonville Jaguars went from 3-14 to 9-8. Actually won a playoff game, even though 4 interceptions and a half. Is that
See
right?
this guy.
I'm just saying. Is that right?
That's a lot.
4 1/2.
Not
That's
good.
a season for some.
Carried on the royal shoulders of the Prince who was promised. Nick, who will be the team that surprises everyone this year?
Well, I don't know why we're using the Jags as the setup because the Jags didn't surprise everyone. They surprised some people, but not everyone.
Right.
Some people knew it was coming all along. They had seen the prophecy. This is another team that should not be considered a surprise, but I think would be. The Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers won 9 games 2 years ago with what was left of Ben Roethlisberger. That team so badly knew. Do you remember at the end of that year, Ben did a victory lap around the stadium because he was so sure it was his final game, and then they still made the playoffs anyway. He's like, oh my God, I gotta keep going.
That was better than
remember
a bye,
that?
wasn't it?
And so it was better than a bye. And then last year, what did they start? 1-6? They have a rookie quarterback, their best players out injured, and they find their way to 9 wins. They have a top 3 coach in the NFL. They do have, unlike a lot of these other pretenders, an actual top 5 defense in the NFL. They have the best safety in football, Minkah Fitzpatrick. arguably the best edge rusher. He's on the very short list in TJ Watt. And they're at least good to very good almost everywhere else. They always have good receivers. And yes, they are in a brutal division. That part I totally understand. But nobody seems to believe the Steelers that won 9 games last year with everything working against them can win 11 games this year and win that division. Of course they can. And so while I don't think they can go to the Super Bowl because Kenny Pickett is not going to go through that gauntlet of AFC quarterbacks, I think Mike Tomlin can have them back in the playoffs with that defense and with Pickett just taking a reasonable year 2 jump.
Like it.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Steelers. I think they're going to have a very good year. My team, though, is Who Dat.
Oh.
Who Dat Nation, stand up. The New Orleans Saints.
Ooh, they're the
You're
favorites.
sleeping. You're snoozing, Nick Wright. I'm telling you, the New Orleans Saints, they've got a major upgrade at quarterback. Derek Carr. Andy Dalton was the quarterback last year. Major upgrade with Derek Carr. Got some weapons, too, Chris Olave. And word is, Michael Thomas is actually healthy.
gosh.
Like, he's really healthy now. All right, so he's 30 years old. He's been out
fresh.
so long.
I mean,
He's fresh. He has no wear and tear on him. That's for darn sure. So I think, look, the defense will be the first time in Derek Carr's career. The defense might not be what it was because it's been great for several years, but it should be good. First time you have a top 10 defense in his career, and I think that'll help him out. Bad division for the most part.
Before we get to your team. All right. First of all, as often is the case, Brew is cheating. That they are the favorites to win their division.
Yeah,
that is not a surprise unless you think they're going to be like a 12-win team.
Nobody's expecting much from New Orleans. I mean, they have to put somebody in front. That's a bad division for the most part.
So here's my only question, because everybody is talking about the significant upgrade they got in Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Is there not something to be said that, hey, Andy Dalton in Cincinnati and Derek Carr in Vegas were somewhat similar, and when the Bengals were done with Andy Dalton was done, whether we recognized it or not. Similar with how when the Colts were done with, when the Falcons were done with Matt Ryan, or when the Chargers were done with Phillip Rivers, they were done. I understand Carr's younger than Phillip Rivers was, but there isn't real concern that Derek Carr might be not the player that he was a few years ago. Like, that's not a real concern.
If you want to take the most negative viewpoint possible, sure, okay? But you hit it on the head. He's younger than Andy Dalton was. And I think he was better than Andy Dalton was. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I don't know, Andy Dalton.
I think Dalton a little more pedestrian.
Yeah.
He got to the playoffs, but a little more pedestrian than Derek Carr.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
I like the pickup of Derek Carr. I'd say the thing that I'd be concerned about if I was New Orleans is usually the first year with a new offensive coordinator or in a new system, he's not as effective as his second year, and that's been pretty consistent over the course of his career. I'm going to take another team out of that division. I think the Falcons are going to be a team that can surprise. So now on offense, they've got 6 number 1 draft picks on offense. 3 of them are on the offensive line. Okay, so that's one component of it. They've got a explosive tight end, we think, Kyle Pitts. He should be better than we've seen. They've got a potentially an explosive receiver in Drake London outside. They drafted Bijan Robinson, but they already had a really impressive running game. Right. Tyler Algier, who's there, he rushed over 200 times for a 4.9-yard average. So it doesn't matter who they put in the game at running back, that guy can be effective. They've had a massive overhaul of the team in general, so they've gotten younger. They've infused that component of it. So all the losing that they've been used to, those guys haven't been a part of that. So with a young team that's as talented as they are offensively, and add Jonnu Smith, he did a really nice job in Tennessee when he was with the head coach previously. They've got a lot of things that you like. I don't know where they're going to show up on defense. I'm not sure where that's going to go, but they should be able to score a lot of points and be in almost every game.
Yeah, that's good. If you get a chance at home and you're on DVR or you're watching on YouTube or digital, or the podcast even, go back and listen to Nick's take on the Steelers and then say, wow, sounds like you could say the same thing about the mighty, mighty New England Patriots. Great coach, franchise that always wins, starts slow, but they kind of work their way up, even if it was a bad year, and they're going to make a leap. That's going to happen.
Yeah, nobody said the Patriots.
No one said the Patriots because they are literally the most likely to surprise anyone. If you're mentioned in this segment, you're not actually likely to surprise anyone. A little bit of an MC Escher painting. You're kind of stuck. Coming up next.
Okay, guys. I might not do
I
this
didn't
segment.
say a segment that
Coach,
Nick
you
didn't
want to
want
do
to
it
do.
for me? I didn't want to do it. It's dumb. They know it's dumb. They just want me to get upset.
I didn't say anything. Now we're about to do a segment, that Nick didn't want to do. We got into a miniature argument upstairs.
It wasn't miniature.
And I said, I'll be fair. And I will be. The Vikings have made TJ Hockenson the league's highest paid tight end. It's a 4-year extension, averaging over $17 million a year. Travis Kelce, who is the best tight end in the world, is scheduled to make around $14 million. I can ask you several questions. I can ask you, how should he feel about this? I could ask you, is this something or nothing? I could ask you, are the Chiefs doing a bad job with Travis Kelce? Is he a threat to leave?
Threat to leave? What do you want to ask? I didn't want to do this segment because
I don't want to step on your...
I got a question too.
Well, go, ask away.
Can you put TJ Hockenson on the board?
Why?
Because
Dusty pitched this to me, and now he must have convinced you. The fact
did he? I didn't even know that. That was Dusty and I like this.
Good for TJ Hockenson for getting money. Listen, I don't think he's the best tight end in football.
No,
he does. So is George Kittle angry? George Kittle's the second best tight end in football, right? Where with the tight end for the Andrews for the Ravens? I didn't even see him on there. He's the third best tight end. Have any of those people gone in one of America's most trusted luxury publications, such as Vanity Fair, and openly discussed how happy they are despite the fact they're not making money? The answer to that question is no. You know why? Vanity Fair would not deign to talk to any other tight end in football. They know who Travis Kelce is because he is the best tight end ever on a dynastic team. And he's very happy about that. And you two rabble-rousers trying to sow division.
We're just reading the...
What's the tea leaves? Tell me.
None of those guys also went in Vanity Fair, that luxury magazine or whatever you call it. And talked about their contract, how they're underpaid. He did say that. He could have just talked about how happy I am.
He was asked about the contract, and he said the fact. Of course I'm underpaid, and I'm fine with it.
So is there the only other sort of tangential story here, and I don't want to get in your craw.
No, you do. That's why we're doing this.
But you also don't have your best defensive player. Currently in camp because he wants to.
We got a lot of guys talking about money.
Hold on, no. There's not a lot of guys talking about money. There's one guy.
Second and third best players, right?
Travis Kelce is not talking about money. Travis Kelce was asked directly, and he said, I'm good with it.
He's good with it.
Patrick Mahomes has been asked directly. Is he talking about money? He said he's good with it. When we had our mini argument upstairs, said if you want to talk Chris Jones, we should have a Chris Jones discussion because the GM of the Chiefs yesterday somewhat oddly said he still thinks he could play week 1. I'm going to go ahead and say I don't think Chris Jones is going to make it for week 1, but maybe he can. But and maybe I'm crazy, don't think the Vikings tight end getting a contract extension has any impact on Chris Jones' status with the Chiefs. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a beautiful mind
making all that
scenario.
money. Like, wow.
Yeah, things. Tyreek is.
Justin Jefferson's going to get a new deal. Like, man, I'm the best pass. I just like Travis Kelce. I want to see him paid handsomely.
I think
that's
very happy.
I want the Chiefs to get their money.
Me too.
Capitalize on this great.
Speak is up next. Prediction.